Hi, and welcome back to a new episode of the Love to Mom podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jerry, and I'm joined by my forgetful mother, Christy.
Well, hello there, Jerry, and welcome to the show. You're forgetful, Mother.
The adjectives always tie into the movies.
I know, but I'm sitting here trying to. This is how bad it is. I don't even know why that would be relevant to the movie.
Oh,
Isn't that terrible?
you don't know how that could fit in.
Oh, no, you're. I can't think of it off the top of my head. No.
Uh-oh.
I know. I know. I think I was confused by this movie.
Okay, well, before we jump into it, we should probably
Yeah.
say this is my pick. We watched Paris, Texas. This is the first, I said this is a little bit of a challenging one. We've done artsier movies, like Doctor Strangelove is artsier. But Paris, Texas, I would say is a straight up like art film. I'm pretty sure it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, like very prestigious movie. And it's also one of my favorites. So I thought I'd bring it to the show, and that's why we watched it today. You just watched it.
Yeah. I just finished. I just finished like 10 minutes ago.
So
Yes.
perfect.
Very fresh.
We'll be able to go through and process it together.
Yes, that'd be great. I'm going to need your assistance.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll start off right off the bat. I'll ask your your least favorite question. What did you think?
That is my most least favorite question. Boy, this one I had a really hard time putting my finger on.
Okay.
So there was part of it I was like, oh, this is going to be this heartfelt. Well, I mean, the opening is very, like, what the heck is happening here? But I thought,
Yeah.
oh, as we start going, it's going to be this wonderful father-son movie.
There is that.
And then I was like, oh, then they're all going to end up together and it's going to be this happy moment. I was waiting for the heartwarming and I never really got much heartwarming. So I can't really say how I feel about it because it kind of just dropped me. And
Oh,
I couldn't really, for me, it felt like, but this wasn't the ending I necessarily wanted.
I think that's probably true of most
Yeah,
people.
and so I had a hard time with that, I think. Like just feeling
Yeah.
like, no, that can't be the end. Like when the end happened, I was like, that's not the end. That can't be the end.
Yeah.
So
It's
I don't
very
know.
open-ended, I guess.
It is. I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, I could see both sides of that. There is some resolution, but there's a lot of
Yes.
stuff that's not resolved at the end of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like, and this isn't necessarily a complaint, but it feels like it ends like 10 minutes before a more traditional movie would end.
Yes.
Like the climax happens like a minute before the movie ends. Just that really long conversation. And then
Yeah.
it's over. And then just kind of stops.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that ending. I think that it works really well for what it's trying to do. And to me, this is somewhat a happy ending. Because where we found all these characters at the beginning of the movie, there is this just like lingering hurt and pain and sadness. And it isn't until like Travis kind of snaps out of whatever fugue state he's in where he's kind of able to like piece everyone's lives back together just by like being there. It's kind of like it's an artsier version of like a Paddington movie, which is an odd comparison. But the Paddington movies, like those are all about like there's people and they're all in like down and out situations and Paddington comes along and helps them along the way and it's a very heartwarming kind of thing. if you were indifferent about this movie, you would love the Paddington movies. I'll tell you
Well,
that.
speaking of your forgetful mom, I have seen the first one, but I don't
Oh,
remember anything about it.
I'm pretty much in the same boat.
Yeah, but I remember liking it in the moment. I just don't remember much about it. So, in fact, this week I finished a book all the way through, and I went to record it in my tracker, and
Hmm.
it said I had already read it before, and I
Oh,
had zero recollection of it. So this is your little quip about having a forgetful mother was while referring to the movie, which I still don't understand. Also, is so completely accurate.
yeah. Well, there's kind of a plus side. You get to experience
Mm,
something for the first time again. Isn't that nice?
that is really, really true. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, that is good. It's not great when you're reading the book for book club and you can't remember the book, but that's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. There's a positive spin there.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, yes. But I will say, like, I don't want to jump to the ending. So let's go back to the beginning, shall we?
Okay, sure.
Um, the opening, the credits at the beginning, it has this music that sounds like a thriller. Like
Mm,
because I went into this completely cold.
yeah.
I had no idea genre. I'm like, oh, it says it's a German French film.
Yes, it
And then
is.
I was like, well, is this going to be subtitled? Like, what's the story? Why is Dean Stockton, aka Al from Quantum Leap, in a movie that is German and French? Um,
I guess I
so I
don't
was
know that
perplexed by that.
one.
Yeah.
I don't know
Did you
why
know?
he's
Do
in it.
you? He had a huge part in this movie. I was like,
Oh.
what's Al doing? Anyway, that was kind of fun. Um, but I'm listening to the credits. I'm like, what can I glean about this movie from the music playing over the credits? And it had a very ominous sound. But then as
Sure.
soon as we cut to Travis in the desert, then we're getting Western music. It's like that
Hmm.
sound, you know? And I was like, the desolation and the ugh, like he did a really great job of um like you feel the heat. He goes to that spigot and he tries to
Oh
get a drink
yeah.
out of it and it's like, oh no. I think I literally was talking to the screen. Oh no. This
Yeah.
poor guy. Oh man.
He's in like
But
this tattered suit and like
yeah,
dumpy red hat and like everything about him. He's like overgrown beard, like everything
but
about him.
walking incredibly fast considering he's like
That's true.
super thirsty. He was
Yeah.
walking so fast. I was like, that is not how I would walk if I'd been walking through the desert, which
No.
maybe was the first clue to the fact that this guy maybe not in his right mind. The fact that he can move like that and he's not like, you think about heat, you think about thirst, you think about true desolation.
Hmm.
There's nothing in front of you. And he's
Oh
like
yeah.
speed walking through the desert. I'm like, I don't get it.
He's got a
That
place to
doesn't make
be.
sense. Yeah. So anyway, so the music was throwing me a little bit, and I was like, okay, I have no idea what to expect from this then, because first I'm hearing thriller music, and then I'm seeing this dude in the desert with cowboy music.
Yeah.
So it truly was like, I don't know. It's interesting to go into a movie with zero idea
Yeah.
and trying to figure out what context clues you can pick up as you're watching. And this movie, because of the subject matter, that truly is what you have to do because you don't know the truth either. Like
Hmm.
we're all figuring this out together. Um, so yeah, I mean, I thought that was really interesting. It obviously evokes feelings.
Yes.
Uh, the entire movie, not just the opening, but I don't know, just this what the word I'm trying to think of, like, so he collapses and then he's at the doctor's office or whatever, and he's laying there and his eyes are open and it's just like there's nothing there. And
Hmm.
oh, I don't know. There was just such a that brought up a lot of feelings too, where this, he's not responsive at all. And then his brother's talking to him, and then that made me feel like I was in the car with any member of my family who's not chatty.
Uh-huh.
And Travis isn't engaging in the conversation, and the brother's like, I mean, I don't want to sit and talk to myself. I'm like, oh man. This is my life.
And this was before the
Uh,
time where you could just turn the music up a little bit, you know?
right. Yes. Or like the other thing that kind of tickled me from the beginning was you see I can't remember what do you remember what his brother's name was? I can't
Walt.
think of it right now. Okay, yes, Walt. That Walt's on the plane smoking, and the only thing he has to do is spin a top on a briefcase. And I was sitting there going, "Oh man, that would be the worst. You wouldn't have a phone to look at." And then I was like, "He could have read a book. He
Yeah,
didn't have to spin a top on a briefcase." I was feeling so bad for him. That was a choice.
it was a choice.
Yeah.
I guess it's
Anyway.
to show that he packed everything up really quick and just got on the next plane and left.
Yeah.
That's
Had
probably
nothing
it.
to do but smoke and spin a top. But why
Yes.
would you have a top with you?
That's a good
What
question.
a random.
I don't
Uh,
know.
okay.
Another thing that's unexplained in this movie.
Yeah.
Add it to the
Yeah.
list.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I do want to talk about the beginning a little bit
Sure.
because I guess maybe I should talk about my like process when I watched this movie
Yeah.
because I have the Criterion release of it
Mm.
here.
Can I
Um,
see the cover?
oh, let me get it right up.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, that's nice. I like it.
yeah, it's very cool. I
Mhm.
like it. Um, and this was a new 4K scan. I don't know if the
Ooh,
one on Max was a 4K scan, but it was amazing. I
okay.
I didn't remember seeing
I don't
it.
think the I don't think the quality was I mean, it looked like an 80s movie. It
Okay,
was, well, maybe better than your average 1984 movie, but
sure.
not like so much so that it's like, "Whoa."
Well, that's what it was like here, and this was
Okay.
a restoration that just took place last year. This
Mm.
release was just released in December, so
Hmm.
brand new scan. This is my first time seeing it, and I was like blown away. The visuals
Mm.
are like night and day.
Wow.
So good. So if you can find this, I think it is probably the definitive way to watch it.
Hmm.
But I watched the movie all the way through, and then I was like, I should look through the special features. And then there wasn't any on just the like the regular, there's two discs in here.
Mhm.
So I turned on the commentary. I'm like, oh, well, I'll just throw on the commentary and I'll just watch it for a little bit. And I think I watched half of the movie again right
Oh
after
my
watching it the
gosh.
first time. Because, well, I never heard Vim Vendors speak. He has a
Mm.
very calming voice.
Oh, really?
He's very, yes,
Hmm.
like he's an old German dude.
Yeah.
He's just,
Yeah.
you can tell he had like a podcast microphone set up and you could hear every time
Oh,
his
the
like
mouth
every
noises.
time his like lips clicked,
Ooh.
and he was just sitting. You could just tell that he was watching it. He's just like, when I was doing this, we did this all chronologically. It is very interesting. I'm like, oh wow.
Uh,
Well, I just loved
wow.
listening to him talk.
Yeah.
But he was saying, going to the music that you were talking
Mm.
about,
Mhm.
all improv. He just like set
Wow.
up, like there was just some dude playing Spanish guitar. Then he was just like, this is kind of the feel I want. And then just kind
Wow.
of like let him loose.
Hmm.
And I think it's like absolutely beautiful. I think the score
It is.
throughout is really, really nice.
Mhm.
But I'm also a fan of cowboy music in general. So I was like, it's right up my alley.
Cowboy music, but not necessarily country music.
No, there's a very big difference.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Very big difference. It's a big
Yes.
controversy because all the
Yeah.
country heads are trying to steal the cowboy aesthetic from the cowboy music.
Oh.
And I'm like, you guys are in mansions in the hills. You aren't
Yeah.
actually country folk. I don't like country at all, really.
Mm. Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
love
Yeah, I get
cowboy
that
music.
impression.
I love cowboy music. Um, but another detail that he brought up that I thought was kind of interesting when Travis, we first see Travis, he like turns on the water thing and then he goes into the bar. The first thing he does is open up the fridge.
Mhm.
and there's cases of beer, and he just
Yeah.
closes it. And
Mhm.
instead, the only form of water is the ice cubes, and he's chewing on ice, and that's the only like water. But now that you've watched the movie to the end, is
Mhm.
there any other reason why he would close the fridge?
I don't remember.
Okay. In
It has to do with the when he's talking with, the
Jane,
girl. Yes, it was when he was telling her that story, but I don't remember.
because he is an
I
alcoholic.
I remember bits and pieces. Did he come out and say that?
Yeah, in
No.
the thing.
Yes?
Well, not like I'm an alcoholic. Remember when I was an alcoholic? It was like he
Oh,
hit the this guy. He hit the bottle
that's right.
really hard, and he would come home and he'd be super jealous. And so he sees the
Yeah,
beer
I
and
forgot
like it.
about the drinking part. I
Yeah,
remembered the super jealous part, but I didn't remember that he had been drinking. Okay, okay.
yeah.
So,
So he
okay, that
sees
answers
the
that.
beer and closes the fridge instinctively.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, and I think maybe it would be helpful to kind of maybe break down kind of what happened
Yeah,
throughout the
let's do,
movie so
please.
that we
Please do, so you're not recapping in little tiny bits.
yes.
And
Um,
also let me be forthcoming to everyone, that I was struggling again to stay awake while I was watching because the music was very soothing and it was so slow.
yeah.
So I got a snack. But this is one reason why Jerry is trying to help me out here to recap the movie because I'm struggling a little bit. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I think it's also beneficial to kind of go over the story of it in
Mhm.
general. More so with this movie than any other. Like we didn't go over the plot points of Working Girl or like,
Mhm.
beat by beat.
Right.
Um, but I think broad strokes with Paris, Texas is probably helpful because
Mhm.
I imagine for most people on their first watch, it's pretty confusing.
Mhm.
So start off, Travis is in kind of a fugue state. At least how I interpret it is that like his memories are all gone. He's basically working on instinct. And that's kind of
Mhm.
revealed at the end of the monologue, at the end of the movie, where he's
Mm.
like, his brain kind of snaps when like he ties Jane up and she's screaming and he's hearing
Mhm.
Hunter screaming and he's just like, I didn't feel uh, like at first I heard it, but then like I couldn't hear it anymore. And then I didn't hear
Mhm.
anything anymore. And then I didn't feel anything and remember, and he just like kept running.
Mhm.
And like I think in his head, I think like his goal is just to find Jane and try to fix it, but he doesn't know
Mhm.
where she is. And so it's just like
Mhm.
his brain is just following, and this is another thing you may have not noticed. He's following power lines and train
Mm.
tracks. He's trying to get back to like where like he associates like civilization with her, and I think that's like why he's following power lines and like signs
Mm.
of civilization. He's trying to get back to the city. Um, but he's been unsuccessful in 4 years, which
Mm.
I don't know. But as we said, he kind of enters a bar, collapses, gets found and brought to a German doctor
Mhm. I noticed that.
because it's a French German co production and you need to have a certain number of German and French actors to,
Mm.
to get the movie made.
Uh-huh.
But oh, what's his name? I just closed the IMDb because I thought that I had it down, all the names, but then I realized I didn't know the doctor guy's name.
Oh, yeah, I don't know his name either.
Because he is played by a German director named
Oh.
Bernard Vicky,
Hmm.
who Wim Wenders was a big fan of. And so he was
Oh,
just like, hey, want to be in my movie? I need to have a German guy in here.
that's fun.
Yeah. And so that's why he's there. But he basically finds a card that has Walt's number on it, Travis's brother, and then Walt comes out, eventually brings Travis back, and that's kind of the beginning.
Mhm.
There's stuff that goes on along the way. Like you said, Travis doesn't talk. It takes a
Mhm.
long time for him to talk, And when he does, it's just, I think his first word is Paris. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
just like, I want to go to Paris. Can I go to Paris? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and what I really like about the dynamic between like Travis and Walt is that like it's almost a comedy, like a buddy comedy duo.
Yeah.
And if it was played more like silly, I think it would be a pretty straightforward comedy thing where you have the stoic, all business guy and then the goofy, talks too much, wisecracking guy. You
Mm.
just like take those two archetypes and turn the dial all the way down. And that's kind
Mm.
of what we're left with
Mm-hmm.
because they're all real people. And that's like my favorite part about this movie is that this is not a movie of characters. This is like a movie
Mm-hmm.
full of real people living their real lives, doing the best that they can. It's pretty hard to do that without hurting someone, as we kind
Mm-hmm.
of discover, but um, you know, they're doing the best they can. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll let it slide. um, but yeah, that's kind of the beginning of the movie. I don't know if we need to
Mm-hmm.
go over everything that happens,
Right.
but they get to LA. That's where Travis meets his son, which
Mm-hmm.
is maybe my favorite part of the movie is the kind of middle chunk where they're in LA and he's trying so hard to impress his son. I think my
That's
favorite
sweet.
my favorite scene in the movie, besides the best scene in any movie ever, which I don't know if I need to explain what that is. Um,
Uh, you will have to explain
uh,
what that is.
okay, the end of the movie. The monologue, I think, is the best scene in
Oh,
any movie ever made. I think
yeah.
it's
I mean that was pretty special,
yeah, it's like
and the way that it was shot was amazing too. Yeah,
everything
I
about it.
love that.
I think it's
Mm-hmm.
like perfectly executed in every single way.
Mm-hmm.
And like two of the best acting performances I've ever seen too. It's so G dang
Mm-hmm.
good.
Yeah.
But my second favorite is when he's trying on the suits and he's trying to, and the house cleaner is trying her hardest to help him. And she's like, "Do you want to be a rich dad or a poor dad?" And there's no in between. You're either poor or you're a rich dad.
Yes.
And he has to like practice his walk and he's getting this swagger all down.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah. Very sweet.
and like my favorite like resolution of that is that he's like trying so hard to be like, I want to be just the idea of a dad because I want to
Mm-hmm.
be a dad to my kid, but he doesn't really know how to do it and he doesn't have the means to do it either. He just
Mm-hmm.
he has what he has, so he's just borrowing his brother's clothes, and so he's like trying to impress his kid. And when they eventually talk, I think the kid's first word is, "I think that's dad's suit, isn't it?" Or something like that.
Yes.
Like he tries so hard, but it's just like his kid's just like, yeah, that's my dad's suit. What are you doing? Like, why are you wearing that?
I think that whole sequence is why I thought the movie was going to take a different turn.
Ah,
Because there was a levity to it, and like the first time he goes to walk him home was heartbreaking. Like another time where I was actually talking to the TV, like, oh no,
yeah.
like, ugh, that just broke my heart. And then, so then when he goes back this time, and it has this, you feel some joy because you've just been through the funny of him trying on the suit,
Yeah.
and that he walks down the other side of the street with him, like he's trying to be, he doesn't want to embarrass him. And the son like doesn't even, like, they both, there's an understanding between them of what is happening here.
Mhm.
And at one point then, is it the son that crosses over or he crosses over? I think it's the son that crosses over, right? No,
Oh,
opposite.
at one point, Travis stops, and then the kid like moves forward a little bit, and then stops and looks back, and then keeps going, and then stops and look back. This is what I'm saying. These are real people
Yeah.
because like they aren't talking
Yeah.
to each other. There's this like
Mm-mm.
miscommunication going on, and he's just standing there. And then eventually, Travis just gives up and walks over, and that's when the kid
Yeah.
said, "That's my dad's suit."
Yeah, and they're like walking, and then they walk the rest of the way together.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, "Oh, this is very heartwarming. This is sweet. That's what this movie is going to be." And then it wasn't. And then I was like, "Wait a minute, I was tricked." I
Kinda.
was waiting for some like, I don't know. Oh, it's so complicated. It's so
It's very
complicated.
complicated.
The end of the movie, can I just say, um, I am glad that he is with his mom. I'm glad for that. That was a very tender scene.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
fact that he like, immediately is, like holding on to her. Um, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, yes, but your brother told you how much they love him and that they've gotten used to having him. And so while it feels like a happy ending, it also feels sad. Like I struggled a little bit because I was thinking about them as a couple and he was their only kid. And now they don't have him anymore. And I just think, oh gosh, so now they're grieving. They've raised this kid for 5 years.
They didn't and Travis didn't even tell him. He just took the
No.
kid and left.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's more than half of this kid's life has been with these people.
Yeah.
And so as a parent, I'm watching that going, "Oh no.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
no. That hurts." So that was kind of part of it that was a gut punch to me because while they didn't really talk about them or say anything about them at the end of the movie, that's what I was thinking was, "Oh no, they've just lost their child."
Yeah.
And this is going to be devastating for them. And did this they did this because Walt cared about his brother and he
Mhm.
was, and oh, I don't know. That part was really a gut punch to me. And
Yes.
it was not on screen, but I was thinking about them the entire time.
Yeah,
And
I
that made
think
me sad.
they kinda bow out of the movie for, like, the last half an hour. There's, like, that
Mm,
call, Hunter calls them, but
mhm.
then he just hangs up, and then they're out of the movie. So we kind of
Yeah.
just have to guess, uh,
Mhm.
what's going on. That part is really sad to me too.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, yeah, like, as I was watching it this time, I'm like, "Well, maybe this time it'll be different." You know?
But no. I mean, and
Uh,
we don't know either, like, was there a conversation or not? But if I mean, you could see that they really loved him.
mhm,
And those scenes when Travis first gets there and you're seeing her, well, it's time for me to put him to bed. And they have this whole ritual together. And um, she seemed to be such a nurturer that, and even just to um, have his brother talk about what he means to him. It's like, oh,
yeah.
I don't know. There's something different about a guy expressing how much he loves a child that's different, and I don't know. That just really made me sad. I felt like it was there was a lot of sadness. Like I was sad for the boy. I was sad for Hunter
Mhm,
because man, this kid's getting jerked all over the place. And he has no stability because, here he's living this life, but he has memories. And they've shown him this video before of his
mhm,
dad and his mom. So he knows, right? It's not like they kept it as a secret from him. And so he knows that these aren't his real parents, but they are mom and dad to him, you
mhm.
know? And then you have dad that shows up who's like, oh, I don't know what his story is, but there's some issues here. Like for some reason, dad's gone. And so there's part of me that's like, I want this kid to protect himself because it's understandable that he is hesitant to jump right into a relationship with his dad. And I also appreciated that Travis didn't push it.
Mhm.
Like he was very understanding when he was, you would have to be.
Yeah.
And then and then you have the mom, the real mom, what was her name?
Jane.
Jane. Well, I mean, look at her life. Like she's just brokenhearted and having to live this life she doesn't want to live either.
Mhm.
And so there's just sadness over sadness over sadness. And by the end, yes, I think the only truly happy people at the end would be Hunter and Jane.
Mm.
Although
Yeah.
or not Walt, Travis may feel some satisfaction in reuniting them, but he also had to be heartbroken,
Oh, yeah.
you know? And so more than half of the characters in this movie were sad at the end of the movie.
That's true.
I mean, here's the thing. Okay, here's the other thing. It was a beautiful depiction. And
Mhm.
it was the humanity, the like not every story is a happy story. And and sometimes I feel like, well, but I don't want to be unhappy. I don't want to watch things that are going to make me sad
Yeah.
because the world is hard enough as it is. Like sometimes it's like I don't have the capacity.
Mhm.
But also, like that is the reality of the world. Even the happiest of lives has things that are hard, whether in their current time or in their past. So to think that art would always have to be happy is not reasonable, but I can't help but wish for happier things at the end.
Sure.
I think that's it. It's not that I was unhappy with the movie because I thought it was great.
Mhm.
My sadness came when I'm considering the other characters and how they would have felt at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of a little qualifier, I should say, because it's not that I didn't like it, and it's not that I don't like sad things, period, because that is reality. Sometimes, sometimes it's just so heartbreaking. I just, as a
Yeah.
parent, my heart breaks for them. I just can't imagine having a child for 5 years and then they're gone, and how hard that would be. So,
Yeah, I know. That's like it's maybe no, I don't think we should have added more. I was about to say maybe a scene with Walt and Anne kind of, but no, I don't think it's needed.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
I think we kind of get the like melancholy from Travis when like he
Mm.
finds out that that's where Jane's working, and then they like go to this podunk town, and he just like starts drinking.
Yeah,
And it's like that's like sadness for something that's going to happen, and that's like
yeah.
kind of explained in that like tape recorder that he leaves
Mm,
Hunter,
mm-hmm.
um, where he's like, I know I have to leave you guys because I get like too. There's like this. He has this capacity for love, but it's like too much. Where it's like
Mm-hmm.
he loves stuff too much, and then he like it's like destructive. So he's like,
Right.
it's better for everybody if I'm just not,
Yeah,
which
which
is
is
really
sad.
sad.
Yeah,
It
it really
is.
is.
Like the only I don't even know. Like in my mind, there's like kind of two outcomes where I'm like, oh, maybe Travis goes back to LA and he's kind of just chilling with Walt and Ann. And like it's probably tough at first, but maybe over the course of years, they're kind of able to like rekindle that relationship and have that
Mhm.
be fine. The other option in my mind is he goes to Paris, Texas, and builds a little shed on that land that he owns and just kind of lives out the rest of his days there.
Yeah.
It's really
Well, and
sad.
hopefully he doesn't drink himself to death. Like
Wow.
that scene in the bar was so like he's double fisting it with beer and whiskey, and I was like, "Dude, your kid." But that's the other part. There were numerous
Yeah.
times where I was like, "Something is going to happen to this kid. He's sleeping outside a bank on a wall."
Yeah.
And then dad's drinking and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, he's going to get in the car and he's going to drive and they're going to get in an accident." Like there were so many times where it was like he is not capable.
No.
He is not capable of caring for this child. Like that was very obvious in so many points throughout the movie. Like there were so many times where I was like, "Don't cross the street. Put on a seatbelt," which
Well, remember when they're like driving to Houston and the kid is in the back of the truck and like talking
yes.
to him like walkie talkies.
Yes.
Like, what are you doing?
I was like, "Man, they get in a car accident. That kid is toast." Yeah, there were so many times where, it wasn't that he didn't care.
Hmm.
He just was clueless. And maybe that, here's the other thing. In the 1980s, we didn't put bubble wrap around our children.
Yeah.
Like I have a million stories I could tell you about all the ways. Like I rode in the back of a station wagon with my feet dragging out the back. Um to a park with one of our neighbor ladies who was drinking beer and had it hidden under her skirt while she was driving in the front seat. Like, sure, I'm going to let my daughter ride with that person.
Yeah, why not?
Like times were different. It was okay to drive with your station wagon trunk open and all the neighbor kids with their feet hanging out the back, dragging like inches from the concrete as you're driving down the street. Yeah. So there's part of me that's like, some of it is we're looking at it through a lens of our time,
Sure.
um, where we're so careful about everything. And some people would say too careful,
Sure.
that it's causing different issues because we're so careful. But there were so many times watching this where I was like, this kid is being responsible for way too much. Like he's having to take care of, he's having to have his dad lean on him to to get out of that bar. And
Mhm.
he is not old enough for that. Like
No,
that is too much for this kid.
he's
It's too
7.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
That yeah. Yeah, so we know that's not a good environment for him.
Mm-mm.
Um and there is, obviously Travis made some big mistakes.
Yeah,
There is nobility in the idea that he wants to make what he did right. He wants to make it right. He can't make what he did right, but he could reunite, these two together.
mhm.
The only other thing I can take a little bit of hope from is the fact that Walt's wife was sending Jane photos. I don't know if you caught that part. And
Oh,
she
yeah,
was like, I had to tell her to stop
yeah.
because it was too hard. I want to believe that that friendship rekindles and that somehow they co-parent this child.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for because it would be devastating not only for those parents but for Hunter to be taken from the only home he's known.
Yeah.
So I while he embraced her because he felt like he knew her from watching those um those home movies and stuff, it's just not going to be that clean.
Mm-mm.
So I think that's what I'm hoping for. Like after the movie is over, Jane reaches out to Walt and his wife and they sort it out and figure out like maybe she needs daycare help
Sure.
or maybe they take him, like have a shared custody or something. So that he keeps some sense of normalcy
Yeah.
because Jane's struggling to get by herself.
Mhm.
So, and oh my gosh, she was so young.
Oh, yeah.
She was so young, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Ugh, yuck."
Yeah. Well, I think
They
that's
didn't shy
definitely
away from that.
no, no, that's definitely a part of it,
Yeah.
of, like, why that situation was so bad, was, like
Yes.
I don't know if it's ever, like, explicitly said, like, how old he was, like, how because
Mm-mm.
by the time that they find her, she's 24,
Mhm.
which means that when oh, this is bad. When when Travis, like, left, when that
Mm,
explosive thing happened, she was 20, and
mhm.
Hunter was 3 at the time, which means that
Mhm.
she was 17,
Mhm.
and that was when she had the baby,
Yep.
which means that she was maybe 16,
16.
15,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just like,
Well, and he says, "I was older, much older," or he was older, much older. And
yeah,
it's like, "Oh, okay. Well, so we can see what's happening here.
yeah.
That's not great."
No.
Um, and so then you think too, okay, so Jane is a 15-year-old dating a way older guy, living with a way older guy
Mhm.
at least 18, 18, 19. Like her background and the fact that she ends up where she is, where she's working, where she is, like uh
Yeah.
she has some even before this relationship. I have to think she had a very complicated past for that sort of situation to happen.
Oh,
And
yeah.
for her to feel like this is the only choice she has. Because she probably dropped out of school when she got pregnant, didn't graduate, like her options are limited,
Mhm.
all of that kind of stuff. But,
Well, I
um,
think it's, like, implied that, like, they met and then they, like, moved in together, like, right away.
oh,
I
okay.
think, because he says
Mm,
something along the lines of, like, "We spent all of our time together, we didn't wanna spend any time apart," so it's like, as soon as they met,
hmm.
they were just like, we just
Stuck together.
stuck together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about that age thing until right now, that's really
Oh
bad.
boy.
I knew that she was, like he said that she was young, but I didn't
Hmm.
know, like, that young.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, I definitely noticed that. I was like, oh boy, that's that's not great. Because he is. You look at her in this movie, and she is like, she still looks like a baby. She's
mhm,
so fresh faced, and he is not. Granted, he spent 5 years in the sun, but I don't know. His brother doesn't look, Al from Quantum Leap doesn't look that young either. So I'm
no.
thinking, like he had to have been significantly older. Even just if you look at him, I was not expecting her to be so young.
Oh, yeah.
When she finally shows up on the scene, I was like, whoa, okay, like she is still a baby, just young, young,
Mhm.
young, young.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I think it can be like maybe inferred that like maybe her parents kind of like cut off all ties with her once she like
mm,
got in with Travis, where like she didn't have a safety net, so like she had to, is it like peep shows? See, like
yeah,
this
it's
whole
like a peep show.
concept is like foreign to me because they don't exist anymore.
No, they don't. They don't. And I have never, I mean, I have been in a place where they've had peep shows, but I have never been in the room where there
Well,
were peep shows.
sure.
Um, but that is a long story. Well, okay, I'll just tell it.
Okay.
So when your dad and I were newly married, so I would have been like 22, 23, and my mom and stepdad had friends that were musicians,
Mm.
and they were playing in Peoria, Illinois. I'm calling out Peoria. I'm pretty sure that's where this was. And so we all went together, and it was my mom and stepdad and Dave and I, and then two of their other friends.
Mm.
And we went to a gay bar and hung out one night, and then and your dad and I have never been bar people. So that was a not because it was a gay bar, but just because it was like a wild bar, and we are very like we were not party people, so that was kind of a big adjustment.
Sure.
And then they were like, "Oh, there's this sex store next door. Let's go." And I was like, "This is gross because I'm with my mommy." And
Right. That's so weird.
but also weird anyway. Like I've never been in one of those either. So
Mm-mm.
anyway, so we go in and it had an area in
Oh.
there that had and I opened the door to like walk in the room to go like, what's back here? And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is not for me. So
Mm.
I left. So that was a thing. I mean, that would
Oh
have been
yeah.
in the mid 90s. That was a thing. So anyway, so yes, I guess I have had a little bit of exposure to that, but I haven't actually been in the room and seen that before.
Okay.
Which, that was interesting too, because she felt like it sounded like even though that was her profession, she was not doing things on the side. Like you
No.
need to talk to somebody different. So she found a line for herself that she was willing to cross and what she wasn't willing to cross.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it took me a few minutes to figure out what that was all about. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. You don't really see that much anymore.
No, I don't think they exist anywhere.
They
Like
may not.
I don't know. You can just look up stuff on your phone. You
I
don't need to
mean,
go to a
yeah, but there's still strip clubs and stuff,
well,
right?
yeah, I guess.
I mean, people still want to see people in person,
I guess that's true. I guess
but peep shows maybe not.
yeah. Like that whole concept like that and like porno theaters, I'm like those things are just gone. Like there's no
Yeah, the big thing when I was younger was the
Oh, sure.
phone sex lines where they would have commercials on all the time with these really pretty women like doing the
Oh,
phone
yeah.
sex calls, and I was like, and that was revolutionary. It was a 1-900 number,
Oh.
and you paid per minute.
Oh, yeah.
But it was it's the personal. And it's like, well, this doesn't feel as bad as seeing a sex worker. So, like a
Yeah,
worker in the traditional sense.
sure.
Um, but I just don't see that really being. I can't imagine it's still a thing. I was gonna look up Jane real quick here.
Jane. Oh, her name is
Yeah,
like
it's
Natasha.
Natasha Kinski.
Yes.
So she's German.
Yes, she is. Got to fill out
Yeah.
that quota.
Yeah. There were some points where I heard her. She had a southern accent in the movie. But
Mhm.
I was like, I'm pretty sure she is not from America. There were a few things she said where her accent was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And I was like, I couldn't remember where she was from. I knew her name because I don't know how I would know her name. I don't know how many things she was in,
I know she
but I
was
know her name.
I know she was in a David Lynch movie. I don't know
Oh,
what
was
else
she?
yeah, I think she's in Inland Empire,
Oh,
which is not one that I've seen, but I think I saw it in her IMDb.
huh. Yeah, like I'm looking at these movies and they aren't really anything that, wow, she's still working.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. Well, I mean, she was born in 61. So in this movie, she would have been 23.
Yeah. So like
So
right
she
on
would
the
have been
money.
the age of Jane-ish. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Her name was out there a lot, so I'm not sure why I would know that. Her name. It
I
is
don't
one,
know.
though, that definitely rang some bells when I saw it pop up there at the beginning.
Oh. Yeah, I didn't really know. The only person I knew going into this was Harry Dean Stanton. I can't believe I
Okay.
almost forgot that guy's name. He is so G dang
Yeah,
good, just in general.
he was great, and I did look at his IMDb because I'm like, I know him from things,
Oh yeah.
and Green Mile, I think, is probably the one that I
Mm,
saw in his bio that I was like, okay, yeah, that's probably what I remember him most from.
yeah.
And I know it was a lot of character acting.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and the only thing I know Al was in he was in, I've seen him in other things, but that is what I know and love him from. I loved Quantum Leap. It was like the best show. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, yeah, I have.
Oh, so good. Scott Bakula, he was so I think about what it took for him to do those roles every week. He was playing someone new every week.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes it was women and sometimes it was men, and the different ways that people would talk in different eras wherever he jumped.
Yeah.
You know, he would have a lot of learning and character work to do every week. It was so impressive to me. I was like, I had a big old crush on him because I was like, and he's not that classically attractive. He kind of, I want to say something that's kind of mean,
Harry Dean
but I don't
Stanton
mean it in a
or Scott
mean way.
Bakula?
No, Scott Bakula, he
Oh.
kind of looks like Alf. There's something
Yeah.
about him that reminds me of Alf.
It's
His
like the
eyebrows and
yeah.
his nose together kind of make me, that's not a very nice thing to say, but it is. I do see a resemblance. Anyway, not classically attractive, but I just remember having, like, I just thought he was so cool. But Al was great. So anyway, I've seen him in other things, but nothing of substance like this, where he's, one of the lead characters.
Harry
Other
Dean.
than that, nope.
Oh.
I can't
Oh.
remember the other guy's name.
Dean
What's his name?
Stockwell.
Dean. I kept going with Dean. Dean Stockwell. Yes, Dean Stockwell. Um, did the kid ever grow up to do anything more? See, here's the thing. I just watched the movie, so I have zero research. I feel like I'm going in cold.
I think I don't think so.
I'm looking
Um,
here. There's Hunter.
Not really.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't see much. I don't see anything either.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. He was a cute little kid.
Yeah. Every time I like picture the kid from this movie, I never get the face right.
Hmm.
All I can see
Mm.
is Haley Joel Osment.
Yeah, there's definitely a resemblance there for
Yeah.
sure.
I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
it's
the
funny.
blonde and the eye shape is similar.
Yeah. I think it's just the hair.
Yeah.
I think it's just
The hair reminds me of Dennis the Menace, the new one with
oh,
Walter Matthau. That kid
with
kind of reminds me of this one.
Macaulay Culkin? Or no,
No, Macaulay
no.
Culkin isn't in it.
He's Richie Rich. I got that confused.
Macaulay Culkin is Richie Rich? Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. No. This kid I've never seen in anything else but Walter Matthau. That is such a funny movie. My favorite part of that movie is when Walter Matthau looks at the camera and he's got chiclets for teeth because Dennis the Menace did something with his false teeth. I can't remember what he did. And some of the teeth came out. And so he had to wear his teeth for something. And so he didn't have any. So he took white chiclets, you know, the gum.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? And
Yes.
put them in the front of his false teeth because that's all he had. And he looked like a rabbit. It was so funny. That was my favorite part.
I
If
don't
you
know.
haven't watched that recently, you should watch it.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it,
It's good.
period.
Oh, you did when you were little, but
Okay.
you probably have no memory of it.
Yeah, I
But
don't
that was,
remember it.
we would laugh so hard at that part. All of us, we would all just sit and laugh because it was so funny. Oh, good memories.
I like Walter Matthau. He's
Oh,
in an
me too.
Elvis movie.
Oh, I think I heard you talk about that. What one was it? Creole?
King Creole.
No, King Creole. Yeah.
He's a bad guy,
Yeah. Oh,
which is I
oh,
thought was an odd choice. Because
yeah.
he's such a friendly face.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think, well, like when he was in the Odd Couple movie with
Mhm.
Jack Lemmon, I think he was grumpy.
That's true.
because he was the messy one. Oscar, right? Felix, yeah, Oscar was the
Mhm.
messy one. Felix with Tony Randall, he was the clean one. But I also love him in Grumpy Old Men. That's
Oh.
kind of how I know him best is from that. And that's also with an old Jack Lemmon, an old Anne Margaret,
Oh.
an old Walter Matthau. And then the guy that plays Rocky's manager, Burgess Meredith, maybe is his name.
I don't
And
know.
he plays the dad of those guys, the
Oh.
dad of Jack Lemmon. So he's like super old. That is a good movie. Have you ever seen that?
No, I know that it's like multiple people now that I live here in Minnesota have been like, you need to see Grumpy Old Men. It's a Minnesota staple.
Yeah,
So I'll probably watch
it
it at
is good.
some point.
Uh, how about I pick it? I'm gonna pick it. Let's pick it. I'm gonna pick it. That's our next movie.
Okay.
Let's do that one. I hadn't made a decision yet, so this is great. Let's watch Grumpy Old Men. Well,
All
I don't
right.
even know if it's available anywhere.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
guess I
have to.
don't know.
Oh, I'll look here while we're chatting it up, but
You look
hopefully it is.
you look it up. I want to sing the
Okay,
praises of Harry Dean Stanton some more
please do.
because Harry Dean Stanton, maybe one of the best character actors of all time. Been in
Mm.
like so many great movies, but like you don't really think of him as being in them. Like he's an alien of all things, and like
Yeah.
Repo Man, he's in like
Uh,
3
I don't
David
know.
Lynch movies. Um, uh, he's just
There was
like all over
something
the
else
place.
that was nominated for an Oscar. Oh, Green Mile.
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah,
brought
Green
up
Mile
Green
was
Mile.
also nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah, and he's always a support. He's never like the lead. It's like really, really rare that he's the lead. And
Mm.
I think originally they were going to have Sam Shepard play Travis in this movie, who's the writer. Uh,
Yes, I saw that.
and I think he's more a playwright. I think this is his first movie.
Mm.
Um, I guess him and Vim Vendors were trying to work before, and then like union stuff was like, or no, not union stuff. The studio didn't want um, to produce a movie that was written by a playwright because they're like, he's not tested. He hasn't written a screenplay before.
Mm.
He's only written stage
I'll play.
plays, which I don't really see why that would make a whole lot of difference. But especially
Mm-mm.
because he was like pretty acclaimed, so you would think
I
that,
know the name.
yeah.
I recognized his name when it came up at the
I
beginning in the credits.
I
So
guess I don't know what other
I'm gonna
plays
look.
he's done.
You just keep on talking.
Okay. Well, Sam Shepard was originally going to play it. And then I think he ended up like saying, I can't do it. I'm too attached to this
Mm.
character. Like I wrote him and like I don't know if I can do that. And so they kind of just like found Harry Dean Stanton on a whim. I think they saw him in, oh, what was it? I don't remember. He talked about in the commentary, he saw some movie that he was in and was like, he's just phenomenal. Oh, I think it wasn't a specific movie. He was just like, I've seen him in so many things, but he's always the support. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think he reached out being like, hey, do you want the lead? Like for once, we're gonna have you play the lead in a movie. Um, and Harry Dean Stanton agreed. And I thought there's a interesting interview with him because in these Criterion releases, they include interviews from in this one. I think there's an interview with Sam Shepard, Vim
Mm.
Vendors, Harry Dean Stanton, and Dean Stockwell. Um,
Oh wow.
and
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna want to watch that.
well, it's not you read it. It's booklet.
Oh, I thought it was like little videos. No, it was
No,
print. Okay, sorry. I
yes,
forgot. I missed that part.
and I think they are like archived. I know Harry Dean Stanton was the one that I read fully.
Mm.
Was taken right after the original con screening in 1984.
Wow.
And so something that he said in that interview that I thought was kind of interesting is that he found there was someone that was working on the movie that was comatose for years as a teenager. They had all sorts of like health problems, but they eventually got over it and somehow ended up working on movies. And they just got to talking, and
Hmm.
he was just like, okay, so this is kind of what my character is. Like, you kind of have some experience in like being in this kind of state. Like, what do you remember? What were like things that like
Hmm.
you noticed? And so like he kind of drew a lot of inspiration from her. Um, and like I think she said specifically like people would talk to me, but like I wasn't able to like recognize that they were speaking words. Like I could hear the
Hmm.
noise, but I wasn't able to like fully get what they were saying. And so he said that's kind of what I was trying to do for most of the first act was just like stare straight forward and just everything kind of wash over you. And it takes a really long time for that to change, which I think he does expertly,
Yeah.
where it is so gradual. And it hits me every time. At the end of the movie, when he's doing that monologue, I'm like, he's talking like a
Yeah.
lot.
Hmm.
And I,
Yeah. He starts the movie silent. Yeah.
yeah, it's like he goes from like not saying anything for like 20 minutes to giving like a full 10-minute monologue at the end. It's so impressive what he's
Hmm.
able to do.
Hmm.
And I think just it's him and Emmett Walsh, I think, are the unsung heroes
Yes.
of like character acting of this era. Oh my God, everything they're in is so
Ooh,
good.
I have something to say about that.
Yeah.
I was reading through something. What was it? And they were saying that Roger Ebert said if a movie has Harry Dean Stanton or M. Emmett Walsh, it can't be a bad movie.
Wow.
He said, at least it's got something going for it or something like that. But then there was a movie that came out and he's like, I take it back. But he specifically talked about those two people
That's
saying
interesting.
how impressed he was. But it's funny that you bring them both up. Yeah, that was a Roger Ebert quote about
Huh.
he was very impressed with both of them. So
Wow.
way to go.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ebert.
Gold
Uh,
star for you.
yeah. Well, yeah, I think Harry Dean Stanton is just great.
Hmm.
And everything he's been in. Even in something really small, like he's in maybe one episode of Twin Peaks season 3. It was like one of
Hmm.
the last things he filmed before he died. And he's just like barely in the thing, but he has like some lines that like make you like laugh. And in that season, there's not a lot of that. And in
Yeah.
season 3 of Twin Peaks, it's so artsy and like it's really hard to picture that it's the
I
same
know it's not
show.
your favorite.
No, I think it's good. I think it's really good. It's just very different.
Yeah.
And so when Harry Dean Stanton shows up, he's like reprising his role that he did in Fire Walk with Me, where he just like
Mm.
owns this trailer park. But he's just like this grumpy old dude, and he's just so great. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, I do just in general want to shout Harry
Hmm.
Dean Stanton out, but also
Yeah.
in this movie, I think I mean, he's obviously like what the whole movie revolves around, and his
Yeah.
performance is what carries it the whole way.
Well, and what I love, one of the things that I was really impressed by was the acting, the facial acting
Oh
that
yeah.
he did. Like you just watch his face, every emotion comes across his face. But the scene where he's talking to her and he's telling the story, is it that one or is it the first time? I can't remember, but he just has a few. It's not, he's crying, but
Mhm.
it's not like over the top. I'm going to make a big deal about the
Oh
fact, look, I got tears. I got tears. Look at me. Look at me. It was like he was
yeah.
in that room and it was dark, but they were just like sitting in the corner of his eye and it never really made it all the way down his cheek. And I was like, that is, um, it feels like either waterworks are on or waterworks are off generally when
Right.
you're seeing people acting.
Yeah.
That was so subtle. And it was not overdone. It was like you had to look to see those tears sitting at the tops of his cheeks.
Mhm.
That was lovely.
Yeah. There's another scene like
Really,
that
really good.
too. I think it's when they're in a hotel room in the very beginning. I don't remember. I think Walt says something like, "Oh, I just talked to Hunter, your son. Remember you have a son?"
Oh,
Like something along those lines. And he's
yeah.
just sitting on the bed. It might have been like when they first got together. They're in that hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just sitting there, and it's just like he's just
Mm.
crying just a little bit. And that was while I was watching the commentary when Wim Wenders said that wasn't in a script. Harry Dean
Wow.
Stanton just did that.
Ugh.
Um, and I think another thing that Harry Dean Stanton said in that interview is that he has a son that he's never met. And so like this was
Oh.
very personal to him, this
Yes. Oh my
story.
gosh. Wow.
Um, and I'm just like, man, he's so
Sheesh.
impressive. And another thing that I thought was kind of interesting going to his like acting, like, I don't even know. Uh, I can't think.
Resume.
No, like I can't think of it. His process for this movie, I guess.
Okay. Okay.
Um, he was also, I guess he worked with Marlon Brando on something.
Mm.
I didn't know they were in a
Mm.
movie together. I guess they were.
Okay. That's cool.
And on set, Marlon Brando was telling him a story about, I guess Marlon Brando was in some Western, and they had some like Cherokee people
Mm.
that were just on set. And
Mm.
I don't know if they were like extras or something and they were just waiting. But Marlon Brando is just kind of sitting there, waiting for his scene. And he's just by these two Cherokee people. And he's there for maybe like 10 minutes. And they show up. Neither of them say anything. Then like 5 minutes go by. One of them says something that seems like it's like part of a conversation, but like it's like unrelated. It's just like some
Mhm.
random statement. Then a couple of minutes go by. The other one says something, and then they both leave.
Hmm.
Like Marlon Brando told Harry Dean Stanton, he's like, I was just amazed that these people were able to communicate so much without talking. And so Harry
Yeah.
Dean Stanton also said, like, that was also an inspiration. I wanted to see if I could
Wow.
do that the same way. That
Mhm.
really struck Marlon Brando. It's like, man, he's
Yeah. That's
so
so
interesting.
interesting.
There's so many
Yeah.
things that went into this performance, and I think they
Mm.
all come through. It's just very, very well
Yeah.
done.
I think that behind the scenes stuff would be really fascinating to listen to get some of that.
Yeah.
Not, I mean, the art should stand on its own, but sometimes when you know that stuff, it just, it makes it richer.
Oh, yeah.
And to hear someone's process behind the performance, and then you watch that performance again and you can take that and it goes into context with what you're watching. I love
Hmm.
that. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of
Um,
that with this. I'm
yeah.
sure there's a lot of that with art movies in general. I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah.
maybe I should say I hate art movies. I
Mm.
don't like most of them, really.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, but this is always the exception, and I think Wim Wenders
Yeah.
is the exception
Yeah.
because
Well, and go ahead.
I've seen another one of his movies, Perfect
Mm.
Days. It might be his most recent one. Came out a couple years
Mm.
ago.
Mhm.
Um, and that one also very slow. That one I think is like more inspired by Jean Dielman, the whatever the full name of it. I don't know. Jean
Mhm.
Dielman, the one that won the Sight and Sound poll a couple years ago. Um, but that movie is very like it's 3 full days of this person's life, and we're seeing every single
Mm.
detail, and it's the changes are what sticks out and what's important. And
Sure.
Perfect Days is kind of like that too.
Mm.
But there's such a richness and a warmth and just a humanity that's coursing through Wim Wenders' stuff. And I think that's what makes this movie so special, especially given the time it came out,
Mhm.
mid
Yeah.
80s. We're like starting to see the rise of blockbusters where
Yep.
like America is being portrayed in like this really glitzy and like perfect world. I think of like Christmas Vacation
Mhm.
or like Santa Claus is a little bit later, but
Yeah,
like
that's the 90s.
the idyllic kind of like perfect middle class life and a nuclear
Mhm.
family and everyone's
Yeah.
happy and it's a paradise. And Vim Wenders comes along and is like,
Mhm.
this is what it's actually like. There's a lot of
Right.
melancholy, but there is this humanity to it.
I agree.
It would have been way too, maybe I don't know. It would have been easy to have that, that satisfying ending that we all want, you know. We
Yeah.
want the family to get back together. We want Travis and Hunter to take Jane to LA, and then they all live in a big happy house, and it's syndicated in every episode, and they have all sorts of hijinks. We all want
Yeah.
that for these
We do.
characters.
I do.
But
But that's not reality.
yeah, this is real life.
Yeah, this
Um,
is. Yep.
and
It's true.
that's what I think is so special. It's
Mhm.
it's such a unique thing given the time it came out and just everything about it. It's one of my favorites.
Mhm.
I think it's an absolute masterpiece.
Yeah, I thought it was great. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about Natasha Kinski's
Yes.
performance,
Thank you.
and I think in both scenes that all three, she's in three, and she knocks it out of the park in all three,
Yeah.
and they all require very different things from her. And she is another great example of acting with their face
Yes.
because it was never the dialogue, especially in that first time he meets her and she's like trying to get him to talk.
Yeah.
And you could feel the discomfort, and it wasn't in what she was saying, it was in her face,
Oh
in
yeah.
her body. And then the second time, the realization, and when that comes over her, and like that is some serious crying she had going on. Her eyes were so red, and like
Yeah.
that had to have been emotionally exhausting to do. And she did a beautiful job with it. And
Yeah.
then at the end with her son, and you see her looking him in the face. Like she was phenomenal in this.
Yes.
Really, really good.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. I
Mm.
would have been very sad if we forgot to bring that up. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I think it's so telling that like of how talented she is that most of the time when Harry Dean Stanton is talking, it's on her.
Hmm.
She's doing like I just praised Harry Dean Stanton. She's doing most of the work in that scene
Yep.
because the camera is on her and like
Yep.
the entire scene is riding on those reactions to what he's saying.
Hmm.
And watching that realization, it's so slow, it's so
Mm.
gradual. Where like even like halfway through, I think she's like on the fence where she's like, I mean, this could be anybody. Like
Right.
this is just a troubled relationship.
Hmm.
Just because it has some similarities to mine. But then there's like specific, I think the turning point is when he says in the trailer, and then she says,
Yep.
the trailer? Like that's when
Yep.
it like washes over, like, oh snap, this is Travis on the other side of
Hmm.
the window.
Yeah.
Um, and she's just so good. Like a good indicator of how good she is in this movie. I want everyone to search Paris, Texas poster. I guarantee
Oh,
it's her.
really?
Yeah.
You think so?
Most posters besides this one has her
Huh.
on it.
She
Um,
was amazing.
she is. It's either her in like the pink like
Mm.
sweater,
So pretty.
or it's like the black one where she's like in the finale.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah. That
Very
was
good.
those performances were really, really great. I loved that.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I do want to say just a couple things about Sam Shepard.
Okay.
Sam Shepard wrote 58 plays.
Wow.
Wow. 58 plays, several books of short stories, essays, memoirs. He won 10 Obie Awards
Okay.
for writing and directing. So I think that's play. It's not Tony's, Obie's. Obie's off Broadway, I think.
Yeah.
I think the Obie is off Broadway. He won a Pulitzer Prize
Wow.
in 1979 for one of his plays. He was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in the movie The Right Stuff, which is a
Oh.
space movie. 1983, he played Chuck Yeager.
Oh.
Yeah, in the movie The Right Stuff. And he won, or he was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor.
Huh.
So that's interesting. He died from ALS. He was 73. He was young. So
Yeah.
like he wrote that many plays by the time he was 73, which is unbelievable.
That's crazy.
And acted and directed and did all these other things. He also was married to Jessica Lange
Oh.
and had an affair with Patti Smith.
Oh.
So wow, there you go. He had an interesting life.
I guess so.
Yeah. I was like, how do I know this guy's name? I mean, who knows? It could have been any of those things. But
I
I've
don't
always
know.
wanted to see The Right Stuff. I never did see that.
I'll add it to the
Um,
list.
yeah, add it to the list. I can't
I
remember
don't think
who the
I've
lead is. The lead is like, I want to say
I have it pulled up.
Richard Richard Dreyfuss. No, Paul Newman. Paul Newman?
Want one more
Not
shot?
hold okay, and not Richard Dreyfuss.
Neither of those.
Okay. I'm gonna say Robert Redford.
You're
No.
floating around it. It's Ed Harris.
Oh, dang. I knew it was a bald person. That's
Yeah.
why I went with well, no, Richard Dreyfuss wasn't bald. Ed Harris played the lead in that, huh? That had to have been one of his first movies. I don't remember him.
Yeah.
Well,
I think his first movie's Creep Show.
oh, okay. I didn't really know him until The Abyss, which was one of
Oh,
my favorite movies. That one was so good. Have you seen that?
I don't think so.
Oh boy, I'm gonna add that to my list
Okay. Okay,
because he
yeah.
was so good in that.
Creep Show came out in 1982. The Right Stuff is 83.
Okay, yeah.
So, like,
So if you think about that, then you've got Sam Shepard, who was also in that 1983. And so then they're probably filming this around that same time because this came out in 84.
yeah, I
So
think
that would have been a lot for him to jump from.
it was made really fast. That was something
Was
that
it?
vendor said that I was like really fascinated with. He said from when they like started working on it to being done, it was 2 years,
Wow.
which I mean, maybe to those who don't know, that sounds like a long time. I think in general it takes anywhere from 4 to 7.
That's a
Um,
long time.
yes, it is. And most of that's pre-production. Like
Mm,
2 or 3 years is just on writing it, but also like securing sets and doing
sure.
location scouting. And like there's just
Mm,
so much that goes into before even pressing record on a camera.
mm-hmm.
Um, and so like to have this turnaround, I think well, this is kind of interesting. I guess I'll find the page, but there's some pictures that Vim vendors took on a location scouting trip that I thought are kind of
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Um, here they are. Probably
Oh,
not,
oh yeah, look at that.
but it's all
Those are
like
great.
maybe to explain to the people just listening to it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like
Yeah.
rustic Americana.
Mm-hmm.
He says in this Safeway picture here, he really likes that you can see the cigarette burns on the sidewalk. That was something that really stood out to
Oh,
him.
yeah.
Um, and so it's just, I don't even
You
know.
know, the set, you think about the locations, that was something that's really interesting about this is like, first you feel like you're in the Old West
Yeah.
because like these dilapidated buildings and the dirt and the all of that. And then you go to LA. Is it LA? Yeah,
Mhm.
LA. And it's shiny, but not super shiny. And it's still kind of hard to tell when we're talking about here. And then you go to, um, like when they're in the city and you've got like the shiny buildings.
Yes.
I mean, you have this whole range, and the ones at the beginning they look like an old Western saloon. Like you wait for a cowboy coming out.
Right.
I mean, these don't seem like they could happen at the same time. All of these settings, they're all so very different.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
that's that makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Keeps you on your toes.
I mean, I think that's that's definitely the point. But
Hmm.
I think that goes into like why this movie is called Paris, Texas at all. Because that was something that vendors said is that they didn't know that this movie was going to be named Paris, Texas until after it was shot.
Oh wow.
I was going to have you guess what the movie
Mm.
was called before then. I don't think you're going to guess it. So I'm just going to say,
Okay, yeah, just say.
I'm going to say it's a really bad name too. It was
Oh,
just going to be
okay.
called Motel Chronicles.
Oh no.
Bad.
No, that's not good.
Really
That's a bad
bad.
name.
That's a really
Yeah,
bad name.
that is.
And I think Paris, Texas is absolutely perfect as a name
Mm-hmm.
because, well, first of all, literally, it's just where the land that he has, his one possession that he has.
Yes.
Or I guess he has two. The picture of him and Jane and Hunter, the like photo strip. But he also has just this picture of land that he bought that's literally in Paris, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it also is like Paris, you think of like the glitz and glam. Well, not glitz and glam, but just like very sophisticated. and
Yeah,
refined.
cultured.
Yes, cultured. And
Yeah.
Texas, desert, cowboys,
Yep.
big guns, big hats, big boots.
Don't
So it's
mess with Texas.
yes, it's the clashing of those two things, like
Yeah, that is
very
interesting.
different environments.
Hmm.
And so it kind of shows the like duality of
Yeah.
what this movie's about.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I love this movie. I think
Yeah.
it's
I
great.
mean, I think about that too. And you think, well, every time he says Paris and everybody thinks Paris and asks Paris, and then he's like,
Yeah.
no, Texas. And so it is this like, everybody has this assumption. And then he's like, no, reality is, this is what I'm talking about here.
Well, that's something like that his dad, that was like the most messed up thing, was like his dad being like abusive and like stuff towards his mom, where
Hmm.
it was like this joke. And it's like brought up originally, he's explaining it to his brother, which I think is interesting that like his
Hmm.
brother never noticed that or didn't hear it. Um, or I think he said that his dad died pretty young because he's showing like Hunter pictures and he's like, he died like whatever, 7 days after this picture was taken.
Hmm.
Um, but like his dad being like, yeah, I met my wife at Paris on way outside Texas. But then
Hmm.
eventually just like kind of drops the Texas thing and then like
Hmm.
she has to perform like she's from Paris so that
Right.
she doesn't embarrass her husband because that would have been a thing
Hmm.
that women would have concerned themselves with at this time.
Yes. Sure.
And so it's just like it's so like it's just like the idea of a person instead of the actual person,
Hmm. Right.
which is kind of the thing that he's doing with Jane. Like that whole fugue state, he's trying to put things back together because he remembers this good idea of this person, and it isn't until
Hmm.
the end when he's like, "Oh, it was bad, and
Yeah.
I shouldn't be here."
Well, and I think there was a part too when he was explaining his dad, and he said eventually my dad believed it.
Yeah,
So it wasn't even that he was trying to deceive people. He had convinced himself. He had said it enough, and you can change your reality. You can reframe things enough times that it does become your truth. And that's what he did. And so then she was trying to accommodate him.
yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting too. I agree. I liked that.
There's a lot of pieces here.
Hmm.
Um, I still don't know if I completely understand everything,
Hmm.
but man, I don't know. Just a special movie. I don't know if we'll do anything this artsy again.
I mean,
But
here's the thing though, and once again, I feel like I say this almost every week, but after talking through it, it's like, okay, yeah, like when and that is the beauty of it is
mhm,
you talk with someone, people notice different things about a movie and you take what you bring with yourself, you take what you notice and whatever, and then you take what someone else notices and you put it together and it makes for a richer experience.
oh yeah,
That happens to me almost every time we talk about movies because um there to me, like what makes me crazy is going to a movie and not talking about it after.
oh yeah,
For me, that's how I process it. I want to talk about it. I want to talk about the things I liked, the things I didn't like. Like to me, that's a really important part of watching something. I don't feel like I've completed the movie watching experience unless I've had a conversation with someone about it.
sure.
And so I think, if you had talked to me at the beginning of this conversation, um, I would have said 3 stars, maybe three
Whoa.
stars. I know. I know. But like then now I'm processing it. We've thought through a lot of things. We've discussed a lot of things. You've given some great background information that also makes it richer and understanding the people who are involved. And all of that changes my opinion of the movie because now I have so much more context and I understand like what you were thinking when you were watching it, which is different than what I was thinking when I was watching it.
Sure.
And what you had to share changed and made it deeper. Like because you have multiple perspectives to consider.
Hmm.
So I would give this, I'm gonna say 4. I'm gonna bump it up a full point. I'm going 4 stars.
Okay, I'll take it.
And I do think, again, like I've said a million times before, I think if I watched it again, knowing the full context of the movie
Yeah.
and back to the beginning, 100% you would catch things
Oh yeah.
that would make sense. And you would, those subtleties that are not as noticeable the first time through. I mean, this is one where I feel like you could watch it again and get a million more things out of it.
Yeah.
So I just think that as a first watching, I know there's growth. I know there are places to go. So
Oh yeah.
that's what I give it. Did you give it 5?
I
What'd you give it?
not only gave it 5. I gave it
Yeah.
5 and a heart.
Okay. Wow.
It's now one of my top 4 on Letterboxd.
Wow. What are your other 3? Remind me.
Off the top of my head, I think it's Do the Right Thing,
Mm.
Empire Strikes Back,
Okay.
and Fargo.
Oh, wow.
Those
Okay.
are my
Well,
4.
that's quite a breadth of movies.
I
Lots
don't,
of different genres there. That's
yeah, I
great.
don't know if we'll do any of those. Yeah, Fargo
I
definitely
won't do
not.
Fargo. Yeah.
Maybe Do the Right Thing. Do the Right
I think I
Thing.
might have seen that when it first came out.
Okay.
But is there a lot of shooting in it?
No,
I kind of okay, so then I'm thinking of um, New Jack City.
I don't know
Is
if
there a
I've
lot
seen
of
that one.
shooting in New Jack City? Okay. The one that I saw, it was gangs in LA, and
Was it
I
Boys
remember
in the
watching
Hood?
it in college. Boys in the Hood. That's it. That's it. Boys in the Hood. And I remember being like, this is too much for me. It was too intense, too bloody.
Hmm.
Which is why I don't remember. I've blocked it out.
Do the Right Thing is funny. It's
Oh, and it's
it's
Spike Lee, right?
it's Spike Lee.
Yeah,
I say it's
I would
funny.
like that.
There's a lot of funny stuff, but
hmm
it's like one of
Well,
the most like politically charged movies ever.
yeah, we love Spike for that.
Oh, I love Spike Lee.
I do too. I
Spi-
do too.
Spike Lee and Wim Wenders are 2 that I haven't seen all of their movies, but every
Yeah.
single one of their movies I've seen has been above 4.5
Mm.
stars. Spike Lee has been every single one is 5 stars. So
Yeah, I really like his stuff.
he's
I
so
think it's a
good.
travesty that he has never won an Oscar. To me, that is
I
unacceptable.
yeah,
He's so talented.
I think Spike Lee is one of the best American directors of all time.
I agree.
I don't think that's even controversial to say.
No. So why isn't he recognized? That makes me,
Well,
I don't know.
I
I
don't
know he
know.
pushes buttons, like some people have strong feelings about,
I'm,
but you can't look at his body of work and not say this is one of the best directors ever. So I don't understand that. But
I don't know. I mean, it kind of makes sense because he was like being like making what he was making in the 80s is crazy.
yeah, I mean, it was revolutionary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, so I don't even know who did. Did he do New Jack City too? I can't remember.
I'm gonna
So
have to
like
pull
all
up his
these movies kind of
filmography.
have blended into one for me. And
Yeah.
it is Do the Right Thing. It is New Jack City. And what was the other one I said?
Boys in the Hood.
Boys in the Hood. For some reason, those 3 have melded together in my brain, and I cannot tell you which is which. Um, but is New Jack City Spike Lee? Do you have it in front of you?
He why does he have 131 directing credits?
What?
I think he does music videos and
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
he directed a Miles Davis music
Mm,
video,
cool.
Anita Baker,
Mm.
oh yeah, obviously Public Enemy, Tracy
Oh,
Chapman,
yeah. Ooh, that's a good one.
Stevie Wonder,
Hmm.
Prince.
Oh
Wow,
my gosh.
he's done a lot. Um, yeah, I can't. I don't know. Naughty by
There's too
Nature.
many
Yeah, I'm
credits.
trying to find it.
Oh,
I guess maybe I could. Oh, he did. They Don't Care About Us, the Michael Jackson one.
really? Oh, that's a good one. I like
Huh.
that one. I watched Prince Purple Rain. Or
The movie?
Prince's no, I'm sorry, I misspoke. I watched the Super Bowl performance. I had never seen it.
Mm.
And I was watching it before work, and I had just seen the interview with the director of the Super Bowl that year, who was talking about the behind the scenes where it was raining. I think I
Oh
sent it to
yeah.
you, where it was raining and he's like, oh my gosh, it's raining. What are we going to do? And Prince is like, can you make it rain harder? Okay. I have never seen that performance. I don't know
You've
how.
never seen that? It's like one
Never
of the
seen it.
best Super Bowl performances of
I
all time.
know. I never had seen it. So the other morning, I was like, oh, I'm just going to watch that before work while I'm getting ready.
Yeah, why not?
I cried like a baby.
Yeah.
I cried. I was like, this is so perfect. All the
Yes.
steam coming up off the lights, and then depending on the camera angle, and you could see that rain just pouring down, and the performances were so good. And so I'm standing in the kitchen at this point. I'm done getting ready. I'm standing in the kitchen trying to get my stuff together so I can walk out the door. And Jenna comes upstairs. I'm like, don't pay attention to me. I'm just crying and watching the Super Bowl. So ridiculous. Anyway,
Well,
I
I
got
mean,
super emotional about it. It was so,
yeah, you got
wow.
to. With
It was
that
amazing.
performance, you got to.
Yeah, it was, that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did
So,
look
okay.
up New Jack City is
Yes.
not him. That's Mario Van
it's-
Peebles.
Yes, I know exactly who Mario Van Peebles is. And
course.
his dad was also a director, I believe.
Yeah, what's his name? It's Melvin Van Peebles? Yes.
He's a Nepo baby.
Oh, well,
Mario's a Nepo baby
I guess.
from back in the day.
Melvin Van Peebles made like blaxploitation movies. I don't know if that's necessarily like
He was a known person. Like when
Oh, sure.
when that movie was made and they were talking to Mario, it was like, "Oh, your dad, blah blah blah." So, and I didn't know any of his work, but I just remember that conversation at the time. Anyway, all those movies kind of came out around the same time, and that was definitely a new genre-ish,
Oh yeah.
just because it felt.
Do the
Well-
Right Thing is not a crime movie.
No, I know, I
Okay.
know. So maybe so like Do the Right Thing out. New Jack City and what was the other one we were talking about?
Boys in
'Cause
the
I've already
Hood.
forgot. Thank you very much.
Can't remember that one.
I don't know what's wrong with me. Anyway, I just remember this would have been I'm guessing the early to mid 90s. I think I was
Yeah.
in college when those movies were coming out.
Mhm.
And we just had never okay, I'm just going to speak for white people.
Okay.
White suburban Midwestern people had never seen a movie that was like, focused on LA
Sure.
at that time and what was happening in the Black community and like some of the propaganda that was happening at that time as well. So anyway, that was really enlightening for me as a white Midwesterner, and it felt like for a while there were a bunch of movies coming out that were set in LA at that time, and so they all just for some reason kind of. But you also know that I don't like movies with shooting and things in them, so they just feel like one giant glob.
Yeah.
A giant glob of action movies because it's not really my thing. Okay. Not that they don't have value because they do.
Okay.
It's just too bloody for me. I mean, I don't want people to think I'm being like I'm,
Nobody's
lumping
gonna.
every black movie from that time together. I'm not doing that. It was something about movies set in LA at that time. There just felt like there were a lot.
I kind of get the New Jack City Boys in the Hood thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do the Right Thing is not anything like those.
So maybe I've never seen that one.
No.
I must not have seen that one.
I'm adding that to my list.
Okay, let's do it.
I have tried and failed to cover that movie twice on my podcast, so we're gonna try on the
Let's
third.
do it. Yeah, let's do that.
I feel like I try every time, and I'm never able to fully articulate why I love that movie so much. So we're gonna try again later.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
So I want to say, Grumpy Old Men. First of all, we're going to watch Grumpy Old Men. It is on Prime to rent.
Okay.
It is on some weird streaming service that I have no idea what it is. So you could do that for free if you wanted to, but there's probably ads, or you could rent it on Prime.
Okay.
So we'll rent it on Prime. That's very exciting. In fact, I might have the DVD here, so maybe I don't even have to rent it.
There
That
you
would
go.
be nice. Okay, so there we go. That's what we're going to do next. That was one of my very favorite movies. I loved it. There is a second sequel.
Grumpier older men.
I wonder if Anne Margaret's in this. No, I think she's in the first one too. I was trying to think, was she just in the second one? No, she's in both. Okay. So there's that. And then also I want to talk really briefly about um, when I talked to, so last week we watched Working Girl,
Sure
and
did.
I was curious about what working was like for women at that time. Like, is this an accurate portrayal of what it was like to be in a male dominated field? And then I was like, I don't know if we know anybody. And then I was like, oh, wait, no, my mom. My mom would be a great person to talk to. And so I did. I was like, hey, I need to talk to you about something. And then she got super nervous because she thought she was in trouble, or I don't know. Like, what are you going to ask me about? I'm like, it's nothing bad. I just need to talk to you about, and here's the context. Okay, so I'm going to give you just a little background because here's the thing. I was a junior or senior in high school when she took this job, and I was self absorbed like every
Yeah.
teenager is. And so I didn't really know the full extent of what it was that she did. So my parents bought a campground back in the mid 80s. It was a career change for both of my parents. And so they owned this business together. We lived on the property. It was our life. Our house was the office where you registered, and the back part of our house was the bathhouse and the laundry for the people who were staying. So we had a life that was very non-traditional at that
Sure.
point. I was in 6th grade. So my mom, after a few years, then became the president of the Iowa Campground Owners Association and decided that she would start volunteering for the Department of Economic Development in their tourism department because she just wanted to start learning. She does not have a college degree, she has a high school degree. But this business and the things that she was doing within the state of Iowa caused her to be like, I want to know more about the tourism industry, hospitality sort of stuff. So she decides to volunteer her time. She volunteers and eventually gets a job as a lobbyist um, for the Department of Economic Development. And so my mom's work history was owning a campground. She helped someone who was an appraiser for real estate. And she worked at a typewriter company as a receptionist
Hmm.
and at a magazine calling and doing collections.
Oh,
So this is kind of her work history. This working in government was a huge departure for her. So we would be talking about the late 80s,
sure.
which is around the same time that we were looking at in Working Girl.
Hmm.
And I very vividly remember her going out and going shopping and trying to get the power outfits,
Oh.
so that she would fit in down at the Capitol. So my question for her was like, what was that like? Well, she felt like because she didn't have a degree, because she was coming in cold, that she and because she was a woman, like she felt kind of like she had three strikes against her there. Like, how do I gain any sort of um I'm trying to think of the word.
Credibility.
Credibility, that was the word. Yes, credibility. How do I break into this group of guys
Yeah.
when I don't have the degree or any of the experience? She just has the lived experience of being a business owner and what that's like. So she said she would go to these meetings and there would maybe be one or two other women in a room with all men, which was kind of the experience we saw in Working Girl.
Hmm.
She said all the women would talk about like what they should and should not wear, what colors they should and should not wear. Um, like you don't want to appear too powerful, but you also don't want to appear too feminine,
Mm.
and you don't want to stand out too much, but you also want to be noticed. It was very complicated. She said
Hmm.
it's just very, very complicated. Oftentimes, they were not called upon in meetings. So when they would have meetings, official sorts of meetings, the women didn't really participate. Where the action happened was after at the bar.
Mm.
And so she had to build up a tolerance for alcohol because she's like, you can't go in there and drink fruity drinks when you're with a bunch of guys. Like you have to be able to hold your liquor, and you have to be able to like cut it in this group of people in a bar because
Mm.
you get drunk, that's it, it's over. So she was like, that's when I started drinking whiskey because I got a whiskey neat. Because, you know, if I'd have gotten a strawberry daiquiri, I mean, that
Yeah.
that just is not right? So like she's talking about all this, and then I said, I was giving her the idea of like this woman who was in a place of power, who brought women along but also betrayed a woman underneath her. And she said, "Oh, I had a situation where one of the women that I worked with like betrayed me
Mhm.
and kind of took a job out from under her." Um and she said, it was as cutthroat as what that looked like
Mm.
in the movie. And she said, it's very much a boys' club, so you had to figure out how to blend in. And she said there were women, and she said, I don't even, she doesn't want to say that, but she's like, there are women that had to sleep with men to get their jobs.
Yeah.
Like that is not an exaggeration. That is something that happened. Um, and so yeah, I mean, it was a lot of like hanging out in bars to try to get any sort of foothold, because if you missed the bar, you missed everything. There
Right.
was all the deals were done there.
Mm.
So she had to figure out how to cut it and how to interact and what was acceptable and what wasn't as a woman. And then also kind of adjust um her looks, her what she drinks, all of that kind of stuff. So she's like she thought that was absolutely accurate. She really because I was like, I mean, was that for real? Yeah, that was her experience
Mm.
as an outsider coming in, which is very much what Melanie Griffith's character was as well. So it
Yeah.
does really kind of rang true to her, and what it was like for her to kind of enter that sphere. So, and feeling like she had to prove herself because she didn't have that degree, she didn't have the experience, and so like they just dismissed her as a silly woman. So I thought
Yeah.
that was interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'm glad you
So
did that.
anyway,
Talk to her about that.
yeah, it was very interesting to talk with her about it. I remembered her not being around as much. I remembered her getting the suits, but um yeah, I don't know that she ever really shared with me what that, but I also wouldn't have been interested, you know.
Right.
Like it was all about me. So, as you get older, it's like, well, here's another example. Oh my gosh, so I was in the car with my grandma yesterday and we were talking about childbirth for some reason. I cannot remember why. And my grandma was telling me that her mother, well, they had a farm, hundreds of chickens and cows. And so she was in charge of like taking care of killing the chickens and all that kind of stuff. And she was this tiny woman. She was like 4'10", tiny, and she would birth the cows. She would be the one out there with the cow.
Oh.
Anyway, she had neighbors and they didn't want to call the doctors because they were expensive and they lived out in the middle of nowhere. They're farmers. And so she was the midwife. My grandma's mom was the midwife. They were like, "Well, if you know how to take care of animals when they're having their, babies, then you can do a human." And then the neighbor next door was this German woman, first generation immigrant. And grandma's like, "Well, that's in Germany, that's what they did. They didn't call doctors. There were midwives." So she would just call my grandma Greenwood and be like, "Hey, I'm having the baby." And grandma would go over. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I never knew that."
That's
It's so
crazy.
funny the things you find out when you start talking to people. It's like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool." She
What
was not trained.
would that have been like late 1800s or early 1900s?
Well, let me think. So my grandma was born in 31.
Okay, so probably early 1900s then.
Early 1900s. My grandma Greenwood was 16 when she had my grandma.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I think she was born in, well, what would that be, 1915? She would have been
Yeah.
born in 1915.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it was, yeah, the 30s. I mean, depression, that's the
Yeah.
other thing. I hadn't even thought about that. But yeah, you'd be looking at the depression is happening. And, so yes, it is expensive to call the doctor. And you're out in the middle of nowhere. And what you've come from, the country you've come from, that's the tradition,
Yeah.
is to use a midwife or whoever is your neighbor who knows how to assist with the birth. And apparently that was my grandma.
Hmm.
I had no idea. My great grandma.
Wow.
Yeah, so interesting. And I knew her. She was a tough lady. She would I always used to love when my grandma Greenwood or Grandma Margie would tell the stories about my grandma Greenwood killing the chickens. She's like, they would wring their necks and then she'd lay them down and she'd chop their heads off. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, this sweet little lady who's 4'10", she's talking about her wringing necks and flinging them in circles. And I was like, oh my goodness gracious. It's so funny to think about it because she was just this cute little old woman. Anyway, because they lived on a farm, she would make food for all the hands. I mean, it feels like this can't even be real, but it is. Like, she would cook for all these people multiple times a day for the guys that were working on the farm, and she was also responsible for the chickens and the feeding everything and cooking and all of the household things. And just on the side, helping people give birth.
Times were tough.
Hi, my goodness. Yeah. You come from a powerful stock.
I guess so.
Crazy.
Well, I don't want to cut this off, but my neighbor is playing very loud music.
Oh, okay.
I turned my mic sensitivity down, but
that's okay.
I don't want to ruin the podcast by all this music.
Well, I don't want to cut this off, but your dad just came home with Casey's pizza. And so I am going to go eat dinner. So that's
an Iowa
perfect.
delicacy.
I know it. I'm so excited because we decided to get 2 pizzas instead of just one, which means that I can get a half of a pizza with what I want on it. So I'm excited.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, this was fun. Thanks for discussing with me. I feel like I
course.
learned a lot and it really enhanced my experience.
Well, yes, of course. Thank you for watching Paris, Texas.
Yes. It was great.
I thought it's a little experiment. We'll try something a little more artsy. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming next week or next time. But yeah.
With grumpy old men.
I'm excited.
I think you're going. I hope it holds up.
Well, I love
hope it holds
Jack
up.
Lemmon and Walter Matthau. So
Yeah, I mean, it was, I remember it being hilariously funny, and it's probably better to watch in the winter, but they are right. You are in Minnesota. It is a Minnesota movie, lots of ice fishing. Yeah. So I think you're really going to enjoy it.
I think I will too.
Yeah.
But of course, stay tuned and subscribe if you want to listen to us talk about that.
Yes, please.
In the meantime, we have tons of other episodes from all sorts of different types of movies. So I guarantee that we've talked about something that you like.
For sure.
For sure. We go all over the place.
We really do. But that's what makes it fun.
I think so, too.
Variety is the spice of life, as they say.
Exactly right. Yeah, but I have 2 other podcasts. Not podcasts, but they're in the description. I'll just leave it at that because I don't want to talk too much. Because actually, I don't even hear the music anymore. So maybe they already got a noise complaint. That would not surprise me because it was very loud.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, I do have 2 other things. Those are in the description if you want to check those out. Mostly about music. My other podcast is about movies. So if you like my side of the discussion and you want to get just me and Babby, my co-host, he's been surprising me. He's been watching movies.
I know. It's been nice. You guys have had some good conversations. I've enjoyed that.
It's been good. It's been good on the Void Time podcast.
It really has. I agree. I think it's been really good. I've enjoyed your guys' stuff. And you don't generally, there's no crossover with what we do. It's all original or like new things that he's watched outside of what he watches with me. So.
Yes. Yeah. Taking a little bit of a break from Elvis stuff. That's what the podcast was. I got like halfway through Wild in the Country and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
I don't mean not literally, but I do mean that like every single one of these movies are the same.
Can you just make it like April, Elvis April or something? And then you could just do it once a year, get through 4 more. And then
I'm just going to take breaks.
Oh, okay.
If I were
How
to
many
do
are
that,
there?
I think he has 36 movies.
Oh,
so that would take
forever. It'd take
9
you 8 years. Oh yeah, 9 years. Christy, do math.
And I don't have that kind of time. So
No,
I'll just
no.
take some breaks.
Yeah, I think that's good.
So the new episode, I did watch The Exorcist after reading the book. So,
I read the book. Mm-mm,
so good.
mm-mm.
The movie is just basically
I
the book.
I'm going to give you my input on it since I'm not on that podcast. I
Okay.
read the book when I was in high school,
Mm.
and I was laying on my stomach sleeping. I was a stomach sleeper at that time, not anymore, but I was. And my heart was racing so strongly that I thought my bed was shaking and that I was possessed.
Oh.
Like, I know that sounds crazy, but like I was so scared. And it was literally shaking my bed, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's it."
Because that's something they talk about.
It messed me up. Yeah,
Yeah.
it messed me up for a while. So I can't. So
Wow.
I knew I couldn't watch the movie for sure because the book messed me
Yes.
up.
Yeah, I would
So
not
anyway.
recommend the movie.
No. And I've seen enough still pictures to know that I could not.
Oh, yeah.
Like the still pictures gross me out. So
Yeah, it's very
no way.
freaky.
No way, Jose.
I'll just get my opinion. I did say I wouldn't recommend it. I think it's the
Oh,
best horror movie ever. I meant that I wouldn't recommend it to you.
no. Really?
The Exorcist?
Ever?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Not a shadow of a
Ugh.
doubt in my mind that The
No
Exorcist is the best horror
way.
movie ever.
No.
What? Do you
Really?
have
Is
do,
that a popular opinion?
probably.
I don't know. I mean,
What?
it's got to have old special effects and stuff that don't hold up.
Oh,
It
the
does
makeup
still?
holds up so good.
Really?
It might be
Huh.
the best, specifically Max von Sydow in it. He's
Oh.
wearing old age makeup, and he looks
Mm.
exactly how he looks right now. It's crazy.
Wow. Okay.
It's maybe the best
Okay.
old age makeup ever.
All right. Pardon my skepticism.
Okay.
I just, ugh, I
Oh,
just
it's
can't.
gross. It's
Oh,
gross,
yeah.
but it's
It-
very good.
okay. I'll trust you on that.
Okay. Okay.
I respect your opinion. I have not seen it, so I should not say one way or the other. It just surprises me because there are so many horror movies out now. And it has just exploded as a genre that is still
Well,
the best. That kind of blows my mind.
I know that you're a big fan of Saw,
Oh, totally. The
but
Ring.
The
I
Ring.
love The Ring and Omen. Oh,
Did you watch The Ring?
no. I
Oh.
didn't watch any of
Oh,
those.
okay. I thought you were listing ones that you had seen, not Saw, but like The Ring.
No.
Okay.
The only horror movies I've ever seen: The Shining,
Okay.
the first two Friday the 13th,
Oh, I'm sorry.
the first Halloween,
Okay.
and the first two Nightmare on Elm Streets.
Oh, okay.
So they were all when I was a middle schooler and I wanted to fit in with everyone else, and peer pressure made me watch them. Since then, since I have grown and I know myself, I do not put myself through that. So I don't really have any frame of reference. Okay, the movie The Others. Have you ever seen that?
Mm-mm.
I don't know that they would consider that a horror movie, but it was so scary for me. Nicole Kidman. So I don't know that it's technically considered a horror movie, but that's the only other scary-ish movie. Like I had to turn it off, not because it was gross, but because it was scary. So I don't know if that's
Interesting.
considered the same thing. But
No?
so those are the only things I've seen.
Okay.
But so yeah, I don't really have any point of reference. I'm just naming off movies that I've heard about.
I think The Exorcist and The Shining are both two that I have as 5 stars, but I think The Exorcist is better than The Shining. And I'm willing to stake my
Wow.
reputation on that.
Interesting. Okay. All right. All right. I'm not going to yuck your yum. You do your thing.
Wow, you're picking up all this Gen Z slang.
I know. 'Cause I'm cool. Because I'm cool. I'm hip. I'm rad.
And you just rolled it back.
I know. On purpose.
Okay, we'll leave it at
Okay.
that. We'll let you get your Casey's pizza,
need
which
to get my pizza.
which is something that 99% of people on the planet won't know, but we know, and it's really good.
So good.
Yeah,
Gas station pizza. You can't beat it.
not in Iowa.
Not in Iowa.
Most places
If
you
you ever
can
drive
beat
through,
it.
yeah. If you ever drive through Iowa, do stop and get they have a slice going on the little rotator anytime, but you can get a full pizza. They're kind of known for their taco pizza and their breakfast pizza, but I think all of their pizza is delicious. If you come through Iowa, you should definitely stop. It's great. It's kind
I
of
echo
something we're
that.
known for.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gas station pizza for some reason slaps in Iowa, and I don't know why.
Uh-huh. And there are shirts that say, I love gas station pizza. In fact, I think I got that for Jenna's boyfriend over in England.
Oh, there you go.
I got him a shirt that says, I love gas station pizza because we do.
We do.
All right. Well, support your local library and call your mom.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.